Good morning to you all and welcome to JBC Newsroom. Today is Thursday, the 1st of April, and here are the headlines. Tourism gropes in the dark losses of issues related to COVID-19. Cultures in Kenya uphold the act of a female genital mutilation. Kenya develops sustainable access to mental health and substance abuse disorders. Kenya receives the COVID-19 vaccines and launches a landmark national campaign. More on these news stories coming up shortly, but in the meantime, you can join and follow this conversation on our Instagram and social media platforms at JBC Newsroom on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Hoteliers continue to count losses as the tourism sector in Kenya is not likely to recover anytime soon due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Here is the story. Restrictions on travel to combat COVID-19 reduced airline travel, shipping, and accelerated cancellations of hotel reservations has left the tourism sector on its knees. Kenya's hoteliers estimate the country's lost in excess of 150 billion shillings in tourism earnings to the COVID-19 pandemic as the industry collapsed across the world. The sector is one of the leading sources of foreign exchange, earning 163.56 billion in 2019, which had been expected to grow by 1% in 2020. Tourism contributes 10% of Kenya's annual GDP and employs over 2 million people. According to the data of Kenya Private Sector Alliance, at least 3.1 million jobs in tourism and travel have been affected as hotels, bars, restaurants, tour operators, airlines, and their suppliers record low business. We speak to Louis Nyambiro, the Human Resource Manager of Voyager Resort, to hear his thoughts on this issue.
Much for hosting me. My name is Louis Nyambiro. I'm the Group HR Manager for Heritage Hotels. Voyager is part of Heritage Hotels. Besides Voyager, we have Mara Intrepid, we have Mara Explorer, we have Samburu Intrepid, and we have Voyager Safari Camp in Savo. Voyager is located in Mombasa. I'm going to talk about how COVID has really affected us. COVID, I can say, has affected the hotel sector negatively. First of all, let me start from last year. After around 25th March last year, when we got the first case of COVID. We had to, and we reopened in July. Closing the hotel means we have to reduce our staffing. We have to go to pay cut. So we reduced like nearly all contractees who were there were in Voyage alone, but the most hotels in the country and most hotels within Mombasa County. Some hotels even put their staff under pay cut. But as the first month we went on leave and we were paid full salary April. Then from May, we went through pay cut. We were paid 50% because we are not working. May, June, we were paid 50%. July, we were also paid 50%. And then we resumed around 16th of July. The time we resumed, the business was also still very low. We had very few guests. At one time, we had only 2 guests within the hotel. This facility has 236 rooms. And if you see the power that we are supposed to use per day the water bills, and yet we are only serving 2 guests. So it became like impossible even to return all the employees. So we have continued being on a pay cut for all that long, and mark you, most of the staff have not reported back, especially those who are on contract and those who are on casual. So their life, it is like it stopped there, because once your contract stopped, we were unable to renew the contract. Most of us, we are servicing loans from different companies, from different banks. If you are not servicing from a bank, you are servicing from a circle somewhere. These circles gave us some moratorium for a few months, up to from around April to July there. Banks gave us up to December. Now the banks want their money. So people have been working, but you get, when the salary goes to the bank is like taking everything. So livelihood, it has really affected us. It has affected the hotel operations. It has affected even future planning. If you are to plan that you want maybe to do proper renovation, we are unable to do that proper renovation. If you wanted maybe to increase some operating equipment, we were unable. Now you have to do piecemeal. If you wanted to buy maybe 10 pieces, you will be told no, we cannot buy 10 pieces. Let's buy only 2 or 3. So life has really changed, but we are optimistic before the closure, the closure for this year. Now I'm talking about again March this year. Before the closure, businesses, at least business was coming now. At least it had improved drastically. But immediately Nairobi area was closed down, like 26 guests within the hotel. 26 for 236 rooms. You see, even that percentage is very minute. Even now, paying salary, the owners have to go back to their pocket, because whatever we are making, we cannot be able to pay the salaries. But right now, we have sent most of our staff on leave. As a few of us who are working, we are working maybe 3 days in a week or 4 days in a week. The other days you take leave, part of your leave, or you take if you had a few pending off days, you take the off days. So we are still optimistic with the government measures that they have put in place. Revamping the industry is not that hard. It's not that hard. As long as, okay, I cannot know when the business is likely to come back, but once the measures like the lockdown of Nairobi areas, curfews can be removed, business will automatically come. We had a local business which we have been enjoying, and which had already picked up, which I can say had picked up. I cannot say we had now the 100% business the way we used to have, but at least we had, let's say we had about 50%. 50% of our rooms were occupied around March before the closure. I think that's all on my.
Communities in the northeastern region of the country continue to uphold female genital mutilation, a practice that is outlawed by the Kenyan government. Our reporter Peter Kamau has this story.
In Kenya, 4 million girls and women have undergone female genital mutilation, the ritual cutting or removal of some or all of the external female genitalia, even though the country outlawed the practice in 2011. President Uhuru Kenyatta pledged to end FGM by 2022 and has made commendable strides towards ending it. Though the practice still continues, as some communities believe it's needed for social acceptance and increases marriage prospects. FGM can cause severe bleeding and other health issues, infections, infertility, and complications in childbirth, confirmed by the World Health Organization. We speak to Louisa Ekwe, a lawyer and human rights activist, to give us her take on this history.
Hello, everybody. My name is Louisa Kadeli Ekwe, a practicing lawyer in Nairobi, Kenya. And I just want to say thank you for having me. I'm so glad that I'm going to be able to talk about this vice that's happening in our communities, which is the FGM, or for others who know it as the feminine genital mutilation process. So basically, this vice, if I may be allowed to call it that, has been happening for decades and centuries, if I'm not wrong. It's very hard for community to change, especially the nomadic communities such as the Maasai, some Turkanas, a lot of Kushites, especially maybe Somali, Borana in our borders, and also in our neighboring countries, especially Tanzania, Ethiopia, and Uganda. It's a major practice there. It happens even more than we know. But the thing is, it's never really reported. In 2011, our country decided to come up with an act that would ban the whole practice of FGM. So basically, it's now illegal in Kenya to practice FGM. But the problem is the perpetrators are actually doing cross-border trafficking of girls to take them to even Uganda, even as far as Ethiopia to get it done. And for some women, they feel so proud when they let their daughters get circumcised because they feel like, okay, now my daughter is going to get married to this kind of person, or that they're now women. It symbolizes like a pass of right, where you're going to now change from a girl to a woman. And that's a very false belief, as we all know. This FGM has very, very bad side effects. Number one, psychological trauma. These who have never gotten over that traumatic experience of just, because they don't tell you, your old auntie will just take a girl and take her somewhere to just get it done. And she won't even know, she probably be tricked into doing it. So a lot of people are going through psychological issues, and we have a lot of organizations such as Equality Now, just to name but a few, including even UN. So we're trying to give these girls a lot of counseling and a lot of assurance that everything is going to be okay when it happens. And then we also have the other side effects like HIV and AIDS, because these women are still using the same razor blade to circumcise like 5-10 girls. So it's also adding a lot of risk factor, and also adding to the number of HIV infections in our country. So as you can see, this is something that should be taken very seriously. The other problem is it can also lead to childbirth complications and sexual reproductive health complications because of various reasons that I'm sure the doctors will explain, but it really has a lot of negative side effects. But the problem is all these cases go unreported. In 2008, there were only 71 cases reported in court that are still pending because we don't even know who are these perpetrators. We don't know how to get them. We don't know how. And some of these girls are being belittled. They can't come forward. They can't say, oh, it's my uncle, because these are people that they know. This is a family member who took them to have this done. Probably their own mother, you can't take your mom to court. So we really want to make an awareness to everybody that in case there's this kind of practice happening next to you, please go report it to the nearest police station. This is a criminal offense and also a civil one, because you will be imprisoned for 3 years minimum, and you'll have a fine of 200,000 in case you are found doing this offense. So I want you to know that the law is on your side. If you're a girl out there and you feel like you want to report this matter, please go forward. We have different companies such as Equality Now, like I said earlier. We have the UN. We have so many outlets. But if you can't even go there, just go to the nearest chief or police station and have your matter addressed, because this is becoming an alarming problem. And but I'm happy that the government is trying to back some of these organizations. So let's see as we go in the near future. Hopefully by 2030, we'll not hear of this kind of archaic and old practices. I hope, I believe.
Due to the dramatic shortage of human and other sources to effectively care for mental health disorders caused by substance abuse, healthcare centers have come up with effective programs to intervene and support the affected. Here's a story. Human resources in Kenya have developed sustainable access to healthcare for mental, neurological, and substance abuse disorders in Kenya, ensuring that patients get the right care and treatment at the right time and in the right setting. Stigma greatly limits access to care and decreases quality of life for individuals affected by these MNS disorders. Traditional and faith healers play an important role in provision for care of MNS disorders, as many patients attribute the disease casualty and development of pathology to a spiritual dimension. Studies done in Kenya indicate high substance use rates. The most recent rapid assessment carried out by the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, shows that the age of onset for any substance use has fallen from 10 years of age, and the prevalence of alcohol use is now 13.3%. Increasingly, younger and younger individuals are using hard drugs at an increased rate. We speak to Teresa Adhiambo, a psychiatrist and mental health therapist, to let us know of the available modes of treatment that have been put in place to deal with this, as well as some of the causes of substance abuse and how it's related to mental health disorders.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Teresa Odhiambo. I'm a professional therapist currently working in a Sumbi Treatment Center, which mainly deals with substance use disorder and other mental illnesses. A little bit about substance use disorder is that it is a compulsive, obsessive, and relapsing disease, which has been widely known as addiction. And it is usually a family disease that does not only affect one person, but affects every member of the family. In the past, it has not been widely recognized, but we thank God that with time, it has been recognized with the help of sponsors and the government, and even people being generally open-minded. So what happens is a lot of rehabs have been set up compared to in the beginning, where we have a Sumbi Treatment Center, like it's one of the pioneers when it comes to rehabilitation. But currently we have a number of them around. There's also the Awareness Drugs Day, which is usually on the 26th of June every year. So that helps in also raising awareness of substance use disorders. And then we have general awareness in mental health, whereby people are embracing the possibility that a lot of people are going through mental issues which are recognized, and others do not even understand what they're going through. So when someone is usually admitted into a rehabilitation center, they undergo through detoxification, which assists in providing medication where needed in severe cases. Then they're put into group therapy, which assists them in the 12 steps. They're also assigned a personal counselor, where they get to deal with the personal underlying issues that drive someone to use, because we refer addiction as a secondary issue. We try and look at the primary underlying issues which drive them into using their drug of choice. There's usually comorbidity between substance use disorder and other mental health disorders, whereby you find if someone had already been diagnosed with a mental disorder like schizophrenia, and then they indulge into substance use, it usually makes it more severe and makes it more difficult to deal with it. So it intensifies the already present mental disorder. Alternatively, if someone starts using their drug of choice, with time they may develop either anxiety-induced disorders from their drug of choice or depression-induced disorders from their drug of choice. So there's usually high chances that the two go hand in hand with time, depending on how long the person has used their drug of choice. I'd like to comment also on the stigma that is usually present. It is still not yet dealt with when it comes to rehabilitation. So I can always urge everyone not to feel embarrassed to talk about addiction as a disease or encourage someone to seek for help. The stigma is slowly being evolved. So I'd encourage everyone to be more aware of the people around them and assist them. Thank you so much for having me.
Kenya receives the first batch of the COVID-19 vaccine AstraZeneca, a milestone promise for a better tomorrow following a rather difficult year in dealing with the ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic. Our reporter on the ground, Ben Odis, has this story.
The 1.02 million doses of AstraZeneca Oxford COVID-19 vaccine arrived at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, Nairobi, on Wednesday, March 3, 2021, as part of the COVAX facility. This global initiative is working with governments and manufacturers to ensure COVID-19 vaccines are available worldwide to both higher income and lower income countries. The consignment of 1.02 million doses is part of an initial allocation to Kenya of 3.56 million doses. The vaccines were procured and transported by UNICEF's supply division in Copenhagen. Kenya's Ministry of Health has already launched its campaign and kicked off its deployment plan for the vaccines, which are prioritized for frontline health workers and essential staff, including security personnel. Vaccines are already being moved from Central Vaccine Store to 9 regional vaccine stores, from where the counties will collect and distribute the vaccines to local hospitals and county and sub-county levels.
So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. I've been your host, Jane Opondo, shooting with Ben Odis and Peter Kamau. See you next time.